It's Tuesday, September 29th, 2020. Tomorrow, I get my flu shot. But tonight, I'm inoculation-free, so watch out. It's Dave J. Tuesday. Good evening. How are you out there? DMD, good to see you. How are you? I miss you. Would love to catch up sometime soon, but for now, I'm afraid we've got just a complete show. In fact, we haven't even started practically, and already I'm completing it. Can you look at that? Well, it's just because I'm very excited, because I've planned a whole bunch of things, and we want to get right into it. Of course, I want to welcome you wherever you are. Please do let us know who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and so forth in the commenter section below. Gotta make sure I breathe. Without that, what have I got? Well, I'd like to check in with you. I always do that at the beginning of each show. As you know, tonight, after the show, is the big presidential debate, the first of three, and so I like to think of our show as sort of the lead-in, the opening act, if you will, and I'm sure just as entertaining, and also perhaps just as woeful. And speaking of woeful, I'm a New York Jets fan. How about you? And on that note, I'd like to check in and let you know why I'm feeling so woeful and why I'm feeling so woeful about the Jets. And I don't like to do this in any straightforward way, mind you. I like to do it as expressively, as artistically, as creatively, if you will, as possible. And with that in mind, being that I'm both a Jets fan and I like to make analogies, well, I've put together a new little thing that I like to call the New York Jets Phanology.
New York Jets Phanology. My, what a beautiful day for football. Ha! I'm so excited for my Jets. Blue skies. Wait a second. What's going on here? What's going wrong? No! Don't turn over the ball! Score some points! What are you doing? Manage the clock! SELL, sell.
What are you gonna do? If you don't let it out, it'll just sit there in your craw. And my doctor tells me that my craw needs to be checked on a routine basis. And with that in mind, I'd like to, actually not with that in mind, Beetle Mike has nothing to do with the craw as I understand it. Do you, Beetle Mike? But welcome, I wanted to greet you as well. You say, hey, Dave J. Beetle Mike here. Yeah. Watching, that is wearing, it says here, let me get my specs, as Chris Regan calls them, wearing my 1958 Baltimore Colts hat in honor of Johnny U, as we call him in the biz, Johnny Unitas, and staying debate-free. Are you? Will you manage to keep yourself away from it? I just can't do it. I must watch, and so that's what I'll be doing later on. But for now, let me take you way back. That's right. Let me take you way back into the Wayback Machine, because people ask me, Dave, what's your favorite movie? Now, it's hard to pick one, right? Not me. No, I can pick one, and that is my favorite year. And in my favorite year, which came out in the early 80s with Peter O'Toole and many other greats, the protagonist of the film, Benji Stone is the name of the character, he starts the film by telling everyone what his favorite year was, 1954, because he was the junior writer on King Kaiser's comedy Cavalcade. It's kind of like a Sid Caesar, your show of shows type of show, which of course my heart leapt for. And it got me thinking about, my favorite year. This is the poster. Yeah, there you go. That's the movie poster. So that you know what it is I'm talking about. You can keep up with the visuals and the verbals all at once. Well, I like to tell folks my favorite year was 1989. Why, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Because January through May of 1989, I had an internship at Saturday Night Live. Now, last week I started telling you about that, and we're going to get more into it today. But then, after my internship, although I had to work for about a month at Aeropostale, we like to pronounce it. It's really Aeropostale, but we used to mock it in the Short Hills Mall there. And then I saved up a little money and drove cross country with a few pals of mine from college. And we went the middle route, Route 70, all the way to California. Fantastic trip. And then, and tons of stories. I should probably do a whole show on that trip. But then I start my senior year of college in the fall of 1989, and then we finish the year with a trip to Israel, my first of two in my lifetime. Terry Z is here, and he says, howdy. You have your 10-gallon hat on, Terry Z? Is that a 10-gallon hat, or are you just you know where I'm going with it. In any case, we have too much to do for me to finish the punchline. So, with that in mind, I'm gonna ease into the 1989 fantastic favorite year, but first let me set you up a little bit, because what came before 1989 was 1988, and at that time I was on a sketch comedy show called The Nothing Special, and we were cherishing a book called Saturday Night: The Backstage History of Saturday Night Live. That's right. And I was on this sketch comedy show, but also had my musical interests and was in the house band for The Nothing Special. We were run by a guy named Phil Montero, great guy, and he was the lead singer and keyboard player. I sang some songs. David Karp, the drummer, sang some songs, and we were known as Fill in the Blanks. And we did some closing credits for The Nothing Special in 1988, in the spring of 1988. And here's a little clip of us doing Two of Us by the Beatles.
Someone's harder day. Two of us Sunday driving, not arriving on our way back home. On our way home, on our way home, going writing letters on my wall. The two of us burning matches, lifting matches on our way back home. We're on our way home. We're on our way home. Going home.
There's a little bit of it there for you. I hope you enjoyed that. Wow, what a throwback, huh? So it was around that time that I started getting into other types of music. I'd already been into the Beatles, the Monkees, the Beach Boys, and Billy Squier, to name some. But then, that very year, I won a call-in contest to the college radio station 92 WICB, and I won, just by chance, this record, Elvis Costello, Armed Forces. This record changed my life, because this songwriter, truly fantastic. I truly was knocked out by this music. It had introduced me to that whole British new wave thing that I'd somehow sort of missed into the 80s, beginning to the middle of the 80s to that point. And then I had another good fortune. That is, I had I had tried to get a single for my sophomore year. This was 1988, 87, 88, and I failed miserably because I had a terrible lottery number. Well, in any case, so they just stuck me in a room with this guy, J.C. Swayze. Nice guy. Other stories about him later. But I lucked out because my next-door neighbor had a single, and his name was Chris Masters. And this guy was into that British pop rock music, but even more... a little more progressive, I guess you might say. He was into stuff like Echo and the Bunnymen and stuff like that. And I suddenly found me looking up to his songwriting, and he had put a band together, and I ended up becoming best friends with the lead guitarist named Phil Rainville. Here's a little clip of them in 1988, also in the spring of 1988. Their band was called Edge Park, and this was one of the hits. I call it a hit. I love their music. By the way, Andy Wasserman, welcome to the proceedings. I understand you can't stay long. Don't worry, we will validate your parking. Okay, but anyway, Edge Park, here they are in the Battle of the Bands there at Ithaca College. Check out a little bit of this.
Self-control, holding on to the things you're thinking of. Where am I? I'm fighting a different world. It's not time to bring on another world. And if I follow you into the sun, if I follow you into the sun, and if I follow you into the sun, are you burn with me?
There's my buddy Phil.
And all of my life tuck it away, I would die like a liar.
Oh yeah. I love that riff, you know. There you were, victim of self-control. Whatever it is. In any case, it reminded me, and holy tamale, I haven't tried playing that in years, and it shows, doesn't it? Well, let's not waste any more time with that, even though it brings back great memories. My buddy Phil there on lead guitar. In any case, God almighty, Phil and I end up laughing, and we laughed, and we laughed. But in any case, that is the stuff that set me up for my favorite year, 1989, and we're going to start the favorite year with some more tales about Saturday Night Live with what we like to call the Tuesday Tale. Now, last week, I endeavored to tell you all about my internship at Saturday Night Live, and I made a critical error, I found. In review, I realized, my goodness gracious, I have so many stories, so much to share, so many things to tell you, that I tried to cram it all in, and I got discombobulated in the process. I was not prepared to just take a nice little slice of cake and serve it to you. So what I've decided to do is to focus tonight on one particular area of my experiences, and that area has to do with the musical guests from the show that I had interactions with that are of any, perhaps some, perhaps no, interest at all. But too late, you're here, so check out this intro for that very segment.
My memories of SNL, musical guests and me. Yeah.
Okay, so as I began to tell you, I started to get into Elvis Costello, and because of Chris Masters there in the last clip from Edge Park, I started listening to records like Echo and the Bunnymen. This is a great record, start to finish. Now, I know the purists who really love Echo and the Bunnymen and love all their stuff. They always say to me, no, that's their worst record. Well, I tried listening to the earlier stuff, and I'm sorry, this record for me is my favorite of their stuff. But also now, because Elvis Costello had a new record called Spike. Yeah, there it is. There's the album cover. Look at him, the beloved entertainer. Kind of how I like to think of myself, if you don't mind me saying. In any case, all of this leads me into my internship at Saturday Night Live. I'm told from the outset by my boss, Mike Shoemaker. Here he is. A few years later, mind you, but there he is. Mike Shoemaker says, Dave, now listen, I'm going to give you just a few edicts. Edict, word of the day.
Word of the day.
He says to me, Dave, don't talk to the writers and don't talk to the stars and we won't have a problem. Okay. That's what I like to hear. So I kept to myself as much as possible. Now, in retrospect, I wish I hadn't listened to him quite as much and I'd networked more. But, okay, you can't go back. About 6 shows in, who should be the musical guest? Ha! Elvis Costello. Now, God bless Mike Shoemaker. He knew that I loved Elvis Costello. I don't know how he knew. He must have seen the cassette. Maybe I mentioned it. I probably didn't shut up for a minute then either. And Mary Tyler Moore was the host, and I was in the elevator with her. And it was great because she was just all smiles. And it was truly effervescent. Is that the word? Yeah, why not? It was effervescent in that elevator. And then, okay, I usher her up to the 17th floor, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if I was there to pick her up or if I was just coming back from an errand, but no matter. We're here on the musical guests, aren't we? So I'm keeping to myself. Now the show is on, right? The show is on. And Mike Shoemaker, my boss, comes up to me in the middle of the show and he goes, I've been looking for you everywhere. He goes, come here, come with me. And I'm like, uh-oh, what did I do? You know, that's my default thinking. He says, come with me, and we go into the studio, and who has just been announced to perform but Elvis Costello. Now, he's on his second song, and this is what it looked like. Oh, just a still for you folks. It's a black and white still of him performing Let Him Dangle. He had performed Veronica was the very big hit at the time that he'd co-written with Paul McCartney about his grandmother, Elvis Costello's grandmother. And the second song of the night was Let Him Dangle. That's right. And as you know, I love the good cover song. So for now, I'm going to share a little bit of that with the segment we like to call Cover Lover. Okay, this was a song he wrote about the death penalty, and goes like this.
Bentley said to Craig, let him have it, Chris. They still don't know today just what he meant by this. Craig fired the pistol and was too young to swing, so the police took Bentley and the very next thing, let him dangle, let him dangle. Let him dangle. Not that many people thought that Bentley would hang. The word never came, the phone never rang. Outside Wandsworth prison there was hollering hate. So the hangman shook Bentley's hand, calculate his weight, let him dangle. To imagine that the times that have changed, when there's a murder in the kitchen that is brutal and strange. If killing anybody is a terrible crime, why does this bloodthirsty chorus come around from time to time? Let him dangle, string him up. Let him dangle.
Yeah, let's hear it for Elvis Costello. And, I played the song too. Thank you very much. No, sincerely, it was such a thrill because that was one of the songs, of course, from Spike, the record I was just telling you about. That one, that's right. And now, as I may have told you last week, we would have a party after each show, ending at 1 in the morning. The show would end, and then the stars would get in their limos, and us regular folk would just somehow find our way to the party. Usually I'd hitch a ride because Tom Schiller, I'll be covering him more on a future show. Stay tuned for more on that. Good buddy of mine, great guy, one of the best guys ever, as a matter of fact. I've been lucky to know some great people, and he is one of them. So in any case, not to get too far off in the digression category, now the good thing that night was the show was in this place called the Festival Cafe, as shown on the lower right corner here. Here's some of the invitations I saved in my file after the internship had concluded. And I go down. Now, the way this place was set out, now, as I told you, I'm not supposed to commiserate word of the day.
Word of the day.
But, in this case, the layout of the restaurant was such that there were some tables here, but there was a big bar, but there was no space. There was no, like, sort of cordoned off area. Cordoned could be a word of the day, too. And it's making me think of chicken cordon bleu. If you'll excuse me, I'm getting a little hungry. But in any case, I don't want to digress any further. I get down to the party, and yeah, in the table section is what you'd expect. Lorne Michaels and Mary Tyler Moore and some of the stars and stuff. But there, sitting at the bar, as I remember it, woofing down a steak, the man himself, Elvis Costello. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my big chance. This is my chance to tell him, to give him my message. The message for my generation. I have to think. I know. I'll order a 7 and 7. I'll calm down. That was my drink of the day. Seagram's 7 and 7 Up. And let me have a few sips. I've only got one shot at this, I thought. And I went up to Elvis Costello very carefully. And he was there like this. And I said, excuse me, Mr. Costello? And he goes, And I go, let me go to camera 2 for a little bit more of a dramatic effect. Oh, I'm already on camera 2? That's camera 1. This is camera 2. Let's stay with the drama. Mr. Costello, my generation's on your side, man. And then I slinked away before he said, Lawrence. And he turned right back to his steak and ate his steak, and there you are. And so now, all right, I'm going back to camera 2. That was my Elvis Costello story. But wait, we've got plenty more to share. As a matter of fact, who else can I tell you about? Let me see. Sure, Henry got to that, did that. Oh, well, only a few shows later. Who was the musical guest? A band called Living Colour. Remember them? Yes, of course you do. Well, now, Living Colour had a big hit called The Cult of Personality, and I'm going to give you a little snippet of it so you remember. Okay, so now, by now, I'm allowed in the studio, okay? And I'm in the back of the room of the studio, behind the studio audience. It's probably about 25 feet from the stage. It's not too far. As a matter of fact, I don't think there was too much audience in front of me. There might have been, but all I know is I was up against this area, and you could hear in the music, like, now I'm like dancing in place, you know, I'm bashing my head forward and all this. All of a sudden, I don't know what it gave me the inclination. I look up to my left, and who's there? Dan Aykroyd, and he's looking down at me, kind of bopping along, looking at me with that smirk, and then like he's into it too. And I danced with a few seconds with Dan Aykroyd. So there you go. There's a little bit of a little mini experience, not really a story, as I'm learning as I'm working on my Bupkis script. There's a big difference between story and situation. That was just a situation. There was no story. Maybe all these are just situations. I'm a situation guy. Situation comedy? I don't know about that. Well, in any case, don't worry, I'm going to get to some of your comments soon, but I'm on a roll here, and I got to keep going because there's more musical guests to get to. For example, not too long after that, perhaps even the next show, the musical guest was also the host. Sometimes with a big star, the host will be the musical guest if they're a musical person, and then they can host. And if they do it all as the next guest did. And her name is, of course, Dolly Parton. Yes. Now, Dolly Parton was great. The spirit on her was unbelievable. So, what happens at Saturday Night Live, as I touched on last week in the schedule, Monday and Tuesday they write the scripts. Wednesday afternoon they have a big read-through. Wednesday night is the first late night for me and the rest of the staff to work there, because now they've chosen the sketches and they're all starting to get work on them in different capacities. And I was working for the production crew, so I had to sort of find out what I needed to do in the rest of the week. And so now it's about close to 9 o'clock or what have you. Maybe it's 9 o'clock, and after 8 o'clock they shut down the main elevators. So here I am at the back elevator, and there's a film guy there named Brett King. Brett, I recently corresponded with him by email. Turns out he is now like the head of creative at Sony Pictures, but a great guy. And here I'm just making small talk with him, and the band and buddy of mine that I showed earlier, Chris Masters and Phil Rainville and their band Edge Park, was going to be coming to New York that Friday night to perform at the legendary CBGB's. And I'm in the middle of inviting my pal here, Brett King, the fella from the film unit. Now, I was raised, Mom and Dad are watching, they will attest to this. I was raised that if you're in the middle of you don't be rude. That's what I was taught. Just be polite. So as long as you're good to people, my mom said to me the other day. Right? Okay. So, I'm in the middle of inviting Brett King to this gig at CBGB's, and who should walk up at that very moment? Lorne Michaels, the creator and executive producer of the show, and the host of the week, Dolly Parton. So as not to be rude, I turn to them and I go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just inviting my buddy here to my friend's band is coming to CBGB's this week on Friday. If you want to come, they're really awesome. I'm a big fan of that, blah, blah." And now Lorne is staring daggers at me. But God bless Dolly Parton and that inimitable spirit that she has. Inimitable could be a word of the day, too. And she goes, "Oh, my God, that sounds fantastic. I'll even jump up on stage and sing with them if they want." Ding, the doors open of the elevator. I don't even know if Lauren let her get on the elevator with me or not. I don't remember. But the next day, Brett comes up to me, and he comes up to me right away. And as soon as I got there, he goes, "Dave, minor faux pas." Now, at this point, I'd never heard the word faux pas. I thought it was a food. I didn't have any idea. I go, yeah? He goes, "We don't talk to Lorne." I'm like, I forgot about last night. Yeah, okay. And that was that experience. And it's funny because when I just corresponded with Brett, I told him the story, and he said to me, he wrote right back, he goes, "I don't remember that story, but that sounds a lot like me." So there you are. That is my Dolly Parton story. Well, fast forward, as you know, good things, they come to an end quickly, don't they? Time flies when you're having fun, and as such, finally, the last show of the season came, and who was hosting? My other hero, Steve Martin, and a great musical guest, as you know, called Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Here's the ticket for that very evening that I held on to as a memento, including the envelope it came in. And the after party was in the same place as it had been for Elvis Costello, downstairs in the, what did I call that place? The Festival Cafe. It had one time been called the American Cafe, and I think it switched in the middle of the internship. I think that's why I get confused. Not that I wouldn't get confused anyway. But anyway, so now it's a great night, except the night before, overnight, Gilda Radner had passed away. Now, this isn't part of what I was going to share in terms of musical guest stories or situations. But Gilda Radner had passed away, so it's worth noting. And then we all got into the office the next day, and we all knew it. And there had been a pall cast over the whole proceeding, Everyone was very conscious, and they did some special presentations and showed, because Steve Martin had been on the original years, he showed a sketch in which he had danced with Gilda in a very silly manner, and it was really fantastic, and very touching. And I'm getting goosebumps as I tell you about it. The only reason I'm bringing all this up is because at the after party, I was very excited, I was like doing shtick, which was my want, which was my way. And now, talk to the writers, what's the big deal? This is the last time I'm probably going to see them, I'm talking with Jim Downey and Conan O'Brien. As a matter of fact, somewhere here I have a picture of me and Conan. Yeah, That's from that very evening, and I'll be telling you more about Conan, the other writers, and other experiences in a future broadcast. Now I'm teasing the teaser. But in the meantime, let me tell you, I'm with Jim and Conan, and I'm just excited. I'm 20 years old. I'm doing shtick. I'm rattling off just whatever's coming to mind. I want to impress these guys. Jim Downey had been hired on the second year of the beginning of the show, so he was like a big gun. He was the head writer, I believe, at this point, and I'm doing all this shtick, and Jim Downey's like, "You're a comedian, right? I know you do comedy." I'm, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like eating it up, and I'm having so much fun. And I look over to my left, and just about 5-10 feet away, a very quiet Tom Petty is sitting there, and he's watching me. He's staring at me, and he's just got a big smirky grin on his face, like he's enjoying what's wrong with this kid. And I don't know what goes on in anybody's mind. I don't even know what goes on in mine half the time, for God's sakes. But I will say it was a memory that stuck with me because, I was lucky enough to see him in 1985, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, that is, at Madison Square Garden, thanks to my friend Jerry Greenwald, who had been with me in junior high school, in Mount Pleasant Junior High School. Then he moved away, but he held on to my number, called me in 10th grade and said, I think that was 1985. He said, "Hey, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are opening for and then backing up Bob Dylan at the Garden. My dad, his dad was divorced and lived in the city, my dad is going to have us stay at his place after," and we did this, and it was one of the most amazing shows ever. Now, I never met Dylan, but I can remember at that show, he was like, and I was like, I don't know what he's saying, but I love it. Anyway, okay. So, my goodness gracious, I need a sip of something. All right, how am I doing on time? I think I'm managing. So that was that. Now, I believe somewhere I have a selfie that I took that very night at the final cast party. This is that picture. Oh, I did the first selfie ever. It was with someone's Instamatic camera. The someone I will tell you about on a future episode. That's right. Her name, I don't mind telling you because you haven't heard of her. Her name is Kathy Knoll, unless you happen to know Kathy. She happened to get in. She went to the last show and she got into the party and she took a bunch of pictures. She took that picture of me and Conan. She let me take that selfie. She wrote notes on the back of each photo. Took some photos of herself and a few other of her items, which were Saturday Night Live related. She was a huge fan, and she wrote me this beautiful letter afterward. And we've lost touch, and I'm bummed because I'd love her perspective on all this stuff. Well, in any case, moving along. At many of the after parties, famous people would come by. There was Rick Ocasek from the Cars and his famous model wife, Paulina Porizkova. They were at that final cast party, I believe. And at an earlier party, to my surprise, was a fellow Ithaca collegian, but also a fellow Livingston High Schoolian? Is that the word? Somebody you go to high school with? Well, somebody else who I went to high school and college with, besides my pal Barry the K, aforementioned on this very program, was my friend Wendy Zox. And Wendy was at this party. She worked for a public relations firm. Do you need to... Oh, okay. We just have an audience member over here, very enjoying the program. As you are, I hope. Let me know in the comments section below. I'm on such a roll, I forgot to ask you to make comments. Please, make comments. I'll get to them very shortly, I promise. Just a few more musical stories before I start bringing the show in for a landing and checking out what you have to say and giving you the Tuesday teaser. But first, at one of these parties, Wendy Zox was there, and then John Bon Jovi and his wife were sitting at that table over there. Now, he was wearing one of these... he was wearing one of these jackets. Where is it? I don't know if that was the jacket, because that's a picture I found where he's wearing one of those... I remember it being a tasseled jacket, but if my memory serves, the jacket looked more like this. You know, one of these type of jackets. Okay? And Wendy says to me, "Dave, you've got to do this for me. I love John Bon Jovi, and I love that jacket. You've got to go up to John Bon Jovi for me, because I don't have the nerve to do it. You have the nerve. You'll do anything. Mikey'll do anything." I was like Mikey with shtick. Anyway, she's like, "Go up to him and ask him for the jacket for me. Would you do that?" I go, "Oh, sure thing." I was game for anything. Forget about it. So I go up to John Bon Jovi and his wife, and I say, now we're out of earshot of Wendy. I say, "Listen, I'm sorry to bother you, Mr. Bon Jovi. My friend over there, you see her, Wendy, over my shoulder? You see that woman over there? You see her? You see her? She wanted to ask me to ask you to give her your jacket, but I can't do that. That's not right. That's your jacket. I don't feel right doing that. So can you? And I was kind of testing him. I was a little bit of a creative comedy snob myself in those days. I said to him, if you could come up with an excuse, a good creative excuse why you can't give the jacket to her, that'll really get me off the hook. What do you say? And he laughs, and he looks at his wife, and he looks back at me, and he says, why don't you tell her Elvis gave it to me? Wow. I was actually, that wasn't bad. Thinking on your feet. Okay. We're not talking about rocket science comedy, but I'm going to give him some credit. I thought very good. This just came to mind. I'm not going to have time in tonight's show, but I have a story to share that my guitar teacher told me of a guy who he gave lessons to who was in a band with Bon Jovi when they were teenagers. I don't have time, plus I don't have permission. I don't even know if it's cool, so I'll have to speak with him. And we've been missing each other lately on the phone. But in any case, so that was my Bon Jovi story. Now, the only other musical guest that I have to share at this point is just a quick one. Because things went well at my internship, and because of the timing of things, third time's a charm, I was invited back that autumn in 1989, which was another great reason why 89 was so great, to help out at the 15th anniversary program. The Saturday Night Live had been on the air for 15 beloved years, and they asked me to help out behind the scenes, and this is what I did, delivering tickets to people like Eugene Levy, and I so wanted to go meet him in person. I went to his hotel, and I called from the lobby, and he said, hello? And I'm like, it's a vague impression. And I go, hi, I'm here from Saturday Night Live to bring you your tickets. May I bring them up to you? Because I specifically wanted to say that so I could get up and meet him in person. He goes, no, would you just leave that at the front desk? I said, you sound strangely like Dave's impression of Al Franken. Okay, I'm sorry. It's the best I can do. I have one sort of malleable impression in that nasal zone. It's kind of from the Al Franken to the Eugene Levy. You'll forgive me. But in any case, please disinclude the tomatoes. Well, in any case, that's a non sequitur you don't need to know about. Okay. It was a great time at that 15th anniversary show. And who was the musical guest? Well, Batman the movie with Michael Keaton had just come out, and the soundtrack had been done by the legendary Prince. Now, every Saturday at 5 p.m., they would take a union break for dinner. And at that point, the musical guest would take to the musical stage and do a little rehearsal on his or her or their own. And this is what Prince did. And I said to myself, oh, wow, I think Prince is rehearsing. So I just wandered, because now I'm not an intern. Now I'm just helping out. I don't think I was paid, but I didn't care. Okay, so now I just wander into the studio, and it's just Prince and his band on stage, and I'm literally 5 feet from the stage. I'm literally as close as I am to you right now. I'm just standing literally in front of the stage. It's a small stage. It may look bigger on TV. Everything adds 15 pounds on television, as they say. All right, so I'm just watching him, and he's doing this move where this dancing, he's legendary for his great dance moves, and he's doing this thing where he turns out and he turns back in. No kidding. You know how they say that you can tell when someone's a star when you see them in person? There was such an excitement, such an electricity coming off the man, Prince. It was just palpable. It was unbelievable. And here I'm 5 feet from the man, and I'm not a big Prince fan. Was never a particular Prince fan. Michael Kaufman graduated with us from Livingston High School, was a big Prince fan. By the way, I saw him at the 30th high school reunion. He was kind of a jerk. I'm sorry. I have to say it. Everyone else, for the most part, was very nice. What am I stepping on? Okay, it might have been my feelings for him. But in any case, I get back to the story. Now, I don't have any audio on this clip because it sounded like crap. This was Electric Chair was the song from the Batman soundtrack. But here's the move I was talking about. This is Prince that night on the show. Oh, I guess it's in slow motion. Watch out. Oh, now here's the move. He does this move. Now I'm about this close to him, too. And he's just doing this step, and then he steps back. And it just looked so cool right in front of me. It just looks so cool. I think the file is too big. That's what I discovered. And then he does this step thing. Fantastic. fantastic. There he is. Oh my goodness, looking good, Prince. At least better then than now. But I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. You get the idea. Well, in any case, those are a handful of the musical guests that I had encounters with. Have you commented on it? I don't know, but let's see what you wrote. Let's take a look at your commenture tonight and see what we've got. We've read Mike Fonce's, we're scrolling up. Andy Wasserman missed my call the other day. Give me a day or two. I'll call you tomorrow or Thursday. Well, I got your return call, Andy Wasserman, and I do appreciate it. Dave, you were handsome then, talented then, and even more so now. Tell me more about my eyes, huh? They're Merle Oberon's eyes. Oh yeah, really? What's Merle doing for eyes? Using Katharine Hepburn's? Those are lines from my favorite year. You see how I come back to that? Andy Wasserman says, wow, haircut, Dapper Dave. Andy, do you need money? You keep buttering me up like this. I'm going to have to break out the wallet from the vault. In any case, no, I know you don't. Trust me. If I need money, I'm coming to you. This guy knows how to invest. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't get in. The man's retired. He's my age. I'm not going to retire till I'm about post 472. That means 472 plus another 472. That's how easily I'll be able to. Anyway, enough about I'm happy. That's what matters. Makes me an infinity heir. Okay, let's get back to your comments. Beetle Mike chimes in and he says, they are really good. And I think you mean Edge Park, right? Yeah, they are great. And I gotta say, I didn't mention this, I don't think, but I was really into comedy. Now, when I was 9 years old, I started writing songs into comedy, music, acting, blah, blah, blah. Always into all these things. Then got into comedy in high school. As those of you who went to high school with me know, morning announcements, impressions, theatrical productions, and so forth. And then I get to college. My sophomore year, I'm stuck next with this J.C. Swayze fella. Again, nice fella. A little odd. A bit of an odd bird, as my buddy Mike Sauter likes to use that expression for some people. I've adopted it. Anyway, the next door neighbor is this guy, Chris Masters. Very serious about writing songs. Well, that was the year I started writing songs again, thanks to Chris Masters. And then the next year I became best friends with Phil Rainville, the lead guitarist. Oh my God, we really truly laughed. I don't think I've ever laughed as hard in my life as with Phil Rainville. Oh my God, because what was great is that Phil was a brilliant, and is a brilliant musician and guitarist who loves comedy and has a flair for it. And I was, at that time at least, I fancied myself somebody who was really so into comedy, was religious about it, but loved and aspired to writing and being great at music. Now I think I'm catching up in the music department, and of course the comedy muscle weakens, but what are you going to do? In any case, there's so many more comments. Let's catch up. You are awesome. A 2000s Casey Kasem, but I like Casey Kasem better. I think he would have been much more successful. Well, keep your feet on the ground and your head in the stars. I'm Casey Kasem. I like that better. Good for you, Andy Wasserman. You've renamed him properly, and I condone your renaming, your rechristening of the man, who also played Shaggy on Scooby-Doo. Dave J., you are awesome. My goodness, great cover. That's Let 'Em Dangle. Thank you, and I love the new set. Thank you very much. Yes, isn't that nice? Yes, I built it with my own two hands. Well, not my own two hands. Also, Evan Seplow's two hands. He helped me, and I thank you again, Evan. Terry Z is here, and Dolly is still alive, as if I was talking about her like she's kaput. But she's with us, and she's very, 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 very Dolly. That much. Beetle Mike knows about that because he worked at Dollywood. He's told me the stories, and she visited when he was there, and he concurred with my stories of how wonderful she was. Debbie Marie says, DMD says, hi guys, let me chime in. And Beetle Mike says, hey Debbie. Hey Debbie, I want to marry you. That's hey Paula, but I took a liberty. In any case, Andy Wasserman says, we are all with you. We are with you, Dave, and not the debate. Don't worry, we'll finish before the debate. I'm going to watch that debate. I love watching that stuff. I love it. I inhale that stuff. Oh, it's fantastic. Though I try not to get political on the program. Okay, Beetle Mike, Andy Wasserman. Oh, wow, Tom Petty. Yes, it was great. It was a great moment. I can't possibly know for sure, but I'm certain. When you have that feeling Maybe it's just ego. I'm certain he was amused by me. And look, I have a weakened self-esteem. It was a self-esteem that was born on a fault akin to the San Andreas. So you'll forget, it's not my parents' fault. Well, maybe. We all have a part in things. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, I love you. But anyway, Andy Wasserman says, you would have been much better than Conan ever was. Not a fan of his. Sorry, guys. Well, you know what? In high school, people signed my Livingston High School yearbook and said, you're the next Letterman. And I guess I blew that, didn't I? If I'd gone into comedy, maybe I would have had a shot. That's what I think. We have a few more comments to get to. You are asking great. I'm out in a few, glued to your stories. Thank you, Beetle Mike. I'm really kind of with it tonight. You remind me of Mel Brooks. He was one of my big influences, as you may know. I'll have to do a show on him. John Allen Mollenhauer. Let's hear it for the man. Hiya, Dave, he says. Welcome, John. How are you, buddy? My goodness, it's been many, many years. Now, John Mollenhauer is the person who gave me the idea. In fact, literally gave me the idea to name my production company Insightful Entertainment. And I thank you for that, John, as well as for your friendship over the years. Even though we haven't spoken in a long time, we've had a few ups and downs, as friends will have, but I don't care about that. I still care about you. I think you're great, and I appreciate all of our interactions. Andy Wasserman, are you bowling after the show? Give Andy Wasserman a point. Okay. And he says, happy, that makes me happy. That is what makes or of breaks is typos. And he says, I have big thumbs too. Don't my thumbs look like popsicle sticks from the Good Humor Man? Look at that. Let me show you on camera too. Is that camera? Look at that. They look like popsicle sticks from the Good Humor Man. Sorry, Mom and Dad, again. Okay. Hey, John, Beetle Mike says. Beetle Mike's one of our regulars and good buddy of mine since the year 2009, and we continue on as friends to this day. Well, let's get to a segment, because we are going to be bringing the show in for a landing very soon, so you can avoid the big debate. And we're going to get to a thing that we call the Tuesday Teaser.
Tuesday Teaser. Tuesday Teaser. Tuesday Teaser? Tuesday Teaser. Tuesday Teaser.
Now, I already mentioned what I'm going to be teasing, so it's only a semi-tease at this point, but you'll take whatever teasing you get and like it. I mentioned I'm going to be doing more shows on Saturday Night Live and my internship there within, because there's so much material. Tonight I was only able to get to the musical stuff, but I've also got experiences with the writers and the cast, and get this, I was even an extra on the show a number of times. And in addition to that, I have experiences with two great guys from the original years on Saturday Night Live. I'm talking about Tom Davis of the legendary comedy team Franken and Davis. Tom is the one on the right. And of course, my aforementioned dear friend, Tom Schiller. There he is, raising his glass. I raise my glass back to you, Tom Schiller. That's right. But not only that, what about A. Whitney Brown from the featured player and writer era of 1989? There he is right there on Weekend Update, where he would often appear. That's right. And of course, I mentioned and showed you Conan O'Brien and me. And when I tell you the office that Conan O'Brien shared with three other legendary writers in comedy, you're not going to believe it. So that, oops, what happened to that? Ooh, shorted out. Uh-oh, watch out. The generator is starting to go. We better bring the show in for a landing. Let's switch back to camera one, and here we are. So there you are. There's plenty of excitement to come up. Maybe even 1, 2, or even 3 more shows of Saturday Night Live material. But as you know, I like to mix it up with other stuff. For example, you know that I'm a singer-songwriter, and I write my own genre of music called Jablamo Pop. Okay, well, I've been closing the show since we began 4 weeks ago. What was that, Ted Knight? It was a Ted Knight moment. Ted Knight was channeling me. Monroe. Anyway, I've been closing the show with this number because I feel it's apropos to our times, and it's one that I wrote that in 2007 or so that I'm very proud of. I'm going to start mixing it up in future shows with other Jiblamo pop hits, as I like to call them, but I will bring the show in for a landing. By the way, I barely, if not ever, got to camera 3. Let's show you what the wide angle looks like. There you go. This is what it looks like from my perspective as I'm speaking with you here. See, there's my monitor. That's how I can see what I look like. Here's your comments. There's camera number 2 up there. Here's my mic, which you see sometimes. There's the lights, and so forth. Okay. There's a little backstage tour. Do you have your passes? Okay. This is a song I wrote called One Community. If only we could become that once again, no matter who wins this damn thing.
Why can't we be one community? Why we always breaking in 3? Why can't we be one community? I'm talking about you and me. Put down your dukes and pick up the pieces of your life. Put down the dukes and the gun, rope, tongue, missile, bullet, knife. Why can't we be one community? Why we always breaking in 3? Why can't we be one community? I'm talking about you and me. Guitar solo. Tell me the truth, there's harm in beatings round the bush. Don't turn me to sleuth, 'cause I detect bullshit when shove comes to push. Why can't we be one community? Why we always breaking in 3? Why can't we be one community? I'm talking about you and me. 'Cause anyone is someone when there's someone there to need you. You're the one who freed you all the while. Why can't we be one community? Why can't we be one community? Why can't we be one community? One community.
And on that note, I thank you so much for attending tonight's performance of Dave J. What day is it again? Oh yeah, Tuesday, the day of the debate. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait. And I cannot wait to see you again next week, next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I welcome you to make more comments in the commenter section below. I will address them, if not tonight, because of the debate, of course. Tomorrow I will get to each and every comment, and I do again thank you. This is a thrill for me to be able to do, and I'm grateful to you for checking it out and making me feel good about it. So God bless, take good care, mind your P's and Q's. Well, there are a few other letters I might throw in, but we just don't have time. So on that note, I'm going to take you to the closing credits and say goodnight. Take good care, everybody. Thank you so much.